Hey everybody, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the story of the Maldraxxus campaign as we level throughout Shadowlands. If this is something you're interested in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos in the future. After Talinara asks us to go to Maldraxxus to figure out why they invaded Bastion, we fly through the gateway and arrive in the Theater of Pain. Cheering crowds echo all around, goading on the fighters. We approach Grandmaster Vol, who seems to be in charge, but he takes us for a Maldraxxi gladiator, albeit one flying no colors, and insists we head out to fight in the theater. He's quite surprised when we survive the first round against fellow combatants and sends us back to fight elite contenders next. He mentions the 5 houses of Maldraxxus, but then corrects himself, saying there are 3. When we survive this more difficult challenge, it raises Vol's opinion of us considerably, but he warns that we should not rest on our laurels. Our next challenge will be the 2 former champions, Champion Rinmar and Champion Gudrend. Defeating these 2 gets the crowd thoroughly on our side, leaving just one more test. We face off against High Champion Mescal to determine who truly is the champion of the Theater of Pain. After we best him, before we get declared the victor, our lack of banners gets noticed. Margrave Garmal and Margrave Sindane begin discussing seeing us when they attacked Bastion, which causes Margrave Crexus to challenge them on their treachery and demand they recall their forces. And they respond by attacking Crexus.
A victor emerges! But where are their banners? Which house do they fight for?
Look closer, Garmal. We have a living mortal in our midst. Intriguing.
Sindane, is this the meddler who thwarted our attack?
The very one.
So, this mortal witnessed your treachery. Your house is invaded Bastion, an act that betrays everything the Primus stood for. The Primus is long gone, Crexus. Where is your hunger for glory? Or has the House of the Chosen lost its appetite? We are meant to defend the Shadowlands, not conquer it. You will recall your forces, or you will answer to my blade.
I think not, Crexus. Your blade shall be broken. Slay them all!
Chosen! To arms!
After all-out war breaks out, Baroness Draka, once of the Frostwolf clan and Thrall's mother, swoops down on a chimera to rescue us. We manage to get away from the arena, but are shot down soon after, landing in the Iron Trench. It is strewn with the remnants of the attacks of the Seated Primus. All around, scavengers pick at the scraps left over from these battles. Baroness Draka asks us to help arm them, as this gives them a second chance at glory, and they may join her House of the Chosen. The trench is also filled with necromantic energies, creating chaotic unbound Deathwalkers. In times of peace, there might have been a time to subdue them, and even have them join the Chosen, but in times of war, they are a threat that needs to be eliminated. As we collect battered weapons to arm the displaced scavengers, she tells us how the 5 houses became 3. Maldraxxus is home to those who live for combat. Here, strength is valued and rewarded, as every soul here are the sworn defender of the Shadowlands. But their leader, the Primus, has gone missing. Now, 5 houses are at war, and 2 of which have fallen already, so only 3 remain. After we armed our potential new recruits, it is time for them to prove themselves. There is a spectre called Malefice patrolling the trench, and it's a threat that needs to be dealt with. We take it on and are assisted by the armed scavengers and strike it down, and after this is done, we join Draka at her House of the Chosen. We get introduced to Margrave Crexus properly now, leader of the House of the Chosen, and Draka instructs us to report to Baron Vyras. While the other houses haven't launched a full-scale assault yet, Vyras suspects that they've sent spies to keep an eye on things. It is on us to root them out and deliver orders to Head Summoner Pyrex, Drill Sergeants Tellis, and Secutor Mevix. Once we are done, we get sent back to Draka. Apparently Margrave Crexus sees great potential in us, and he thinks we are capable of passing a trial only attempted by the most renowned soldiers. Reach the stone that stands in the center of the citadel. It sounds very simple, but the stone is completely surrounded by a lake of lava, and only the strongest soldiers are able to trudge their way through before it becomes too much. As you reach out to the stone and touch it, a vision of the Primus appears, and the stone breaks, revealing an unfinished blade within.
The realms of death awash in darkness. Treachery begets chaos. Bonds frayed must be restored. The key shall honor the worthy.
We bring the blade back to Draka, and she's astounded it's been in the stone all this time. The fact that the stone broke for us and no one else has to mean something. So we take the blade to Bonesmith Hairmere, who will know what to do next. We go around to collect some pieces the Bonesmith will need to finish the blade, and once we do that, we assist her with forging the rune blade. While she works on it, we have to fight the guardians that get summoned from within, and after this we take the finished rune blade back to Draka, and together we present it to Margrave Crexus. He tells us the blade represents the 5 traits of the ideal Maldraxxus soldier. The ambition to rise above one's foes and the might to crush them. The insight to discern their plans and the guile to outwit them. And lastly, the relentless pursuit of victory, even in the face of inevitable defeat. It turns out the blade has the same runes on it as the door to the seat of the Primus, the seat of power in Maldraxxus. We immediately take it there and allow it to resonate with the door. While it remains locked, one of the runes on the door lights up, proving that our blade is in fact the key. However, there is no time to figure out the way to open the seat, as there is the immediate threat of war to deal with. Every house in Maldraxxus has 2 barons. Before the House of Eyes fell, Draka was one of them, and the other was sent to investigate the House of Rituals, but Draka hasn't heard from her since. While they were never friends, Draka insists that she could still be a valuable ally. Once we find this Baroness, it turns out that it's a familiar face. Baroness Vashj, or as we know her, Lady Vashj. We approach her as she's interrogating and killing a necromancer. Vashj is unimpressed by Draka's summons. She'll come, but only after we assist her with her mission first. The Lich, Morbatan, hides within the House of Rituals, but his underlings have been skulking in the local marsh. Baroness Vashj wants to know why, so she commands us to capture Morbatan's second-in-command, Mephiles the Loyal, so she can question him. She also needs a supply of anima, which she can get from the anima-charged Maldraxxus crystals that the necromancers have been creating. To make sure Mephiles talks, we have to kill his disciples in front of him. While he remains determined not to talk even as we do so, Vashj has to get a little more creative to get the answer she needs. Place the crystals we collected around her, and the ritual forces a vision of Mephiles getting his orders from a lich called Morbatan, revealing the House of Rituals is planning some secret ritual. Very typical. Very on brand. Baroness Vashj suggests we gather Maldraxxus dust from the necromancers in the area. It can be used to create a rune of binding. We should also take the 3 anima-charged Maldraxxus crystals, charge them once more, and then fracture them. Morbatan will use them in his ritual, and they'll shatter before completion, creating the perfect moment to attack. We meet Baroness Vashj and Kalik at the ritual area, and set up the ritual stones, and summon Morbatan, and dispose of him. As he dies, he leaves behind a rune of guile. We reach for it, and the rune enters our rune blade, while we hear the voice of the Primus say, "The guile to outwit your opponents." Vashj recognizes the blade and is now ready to join us at the seat of the Primus. Once there, we are able to use our blade to ignite the second rune on the door, and our next step is the House of Constructs. The House of Constructs shapes flesh to forge powerful soldiers, and they are besieging the House of the Chosen at spearhead. Baron Vyras is leading the defense against Margrave Garmal's vanguard, and he requested our help. We arrive to find Baron Vyras not afraid to do whatever it takes to break the siege. His soldiers could use some inspiring, and the best thing we can do for them is to make a show of strength by killing as many enemies as possible. And rally the troops with a battle horn. Secular Mevix mentioned that the enemy commander, General Alvar, is a master tactician, and has managed to secure a high ground. If we can destroy some of the enemy's positions, it should help considerably. We escort Secular Mevix to key points around the high ground, where together we place and detonate explosives. Then we meet up with him at the forward position. With the ridge clear, it should be safe to confront General Alvar and end his command. And after we do so, Vyras arrives, eager to see a final victory against an enemy. Secular Mevix, however, is scared we lack reinforcements, but Vyras is confident in our abilities. We report to Mevix at the gates of the House of Constructs, where we encounter a problem.
Constructs, hold this ground! Our victory is at hand!
We can't fight our way in. There's too many of them. This calls for a change of strategy. Play dead. If they think you're a lifeless husk, they'll collect you for parts. Go on. I'll create a diversion. Face me, traitors! The House of Constructs will fall!
Capture that fool! The rest of you, scour the field. Bring me fuel for the body bags.
The House of Constructs is too well guarded, with Margrave Garmol himself out front, so Mevix comes up with a plan that will allow us to be taken in, but we have to pretend to be a dead body. The house will collect us for parts, while Mevix distracts the forces, and to our surprise, it actually works. And we get collected, finding ourselves at the bottom of a pile of corpses. After we dig ourselves out of the pile of corpses, we find an aspirant, Thales, a Kyrian. Him and all the other corpses collected in Bastion are being harvested for parts. They took his eyes, and he asks us to look for any other survivors. Thales then tells us about 3 people that seem to be in charge here. We have to kill Dr. Hivel, Tabulator Himeris, and Leecher Kavan. And after that, we meet up with the other survivors. Baron Hallis is down here, which means we have a chance of taking down one of the House of Constructs barons. We thin the forces, collect as many Kyrian corpses as we can on a stretcher, and meet up with the rest once we are done. And in front of a soul barrier put up by Surgeon Stitchflesh's assistants, Sharax the Fleshcrafter, and First Apprentice Maldraxxus, we use a salvage Praetor to navigate through the barrier and traps and turn them off. After which, we storm in and take care of the assistants. It turns out that they are working on a construct made entirely out of Kyrian flesh. Secular Mevix is mortified and he orders us to destroy it, but Thales stops us. He senses the pain and confusion from the Kyrian souls within, and he hopes that there is a way to save them. We can also use the construct to escape. While we make our way to the exit on the back of the construct, we destroy as many forces as we can encounter, including Baron Hallis. And after we escape, we regroup at a nearby hill, where we find the Rune of Might, and the voice of the Primus once again appears, saying, "The might to crush your foes." Mevix is fascinated by our rune blade, and he recognizes the runes. We take the sword back to the seat of the Primus to unlock the 3rd rune out of a total 5. Now that that is done, it is time to investigate what actually happened to the House of Plagues. At first, Draka thought they suffered a careless accident, but with the betrayal of 2 of the Maldraxxus houses, she thinks it might be worth searching the wreckage of their necropolis, and if we do find any survivors, they can perhaps be added to the ranks of the House of the Chosen. When we approach the wreckage, we find Plague Deviser Merileth, who seems to think we are his apprentice. And as his apprentice, we are put to work straight away. Margrave Stradama is awaiting his latest potion that we need to help complete. We go around the area gathering his ingredients, and he tells us that after the necropolis exploded, he woke up right here, and we were nowhere to be found. Next up, Merileth has a special treat for us. We get to create our very own slime, and we use the cauldron and ingredients to make ourselves a plague-born slime, and we use this slime to find Merileth's lost laboratory equipment and also take out Coram the Cunning, who's been acting all nice, but Merileth is convinced he's secretly after his slime. As we explore the area to find the laboratory equipment, we also find pages from Merileth's journal. We learn that the House of Plagues were in desperate need for anima, and the House of Rituals offered their help. Merileth, suspicious of their motives, created a potion for Margrave Stradama to protect her, but the house fell before he could finish it, which is why he's obsessed with completing it now. We meet Merileth inside the House of Plagues, and thanks to our help, his lab is in working order again, but we need one final ingredient for the potion, Red Shade Extract, which we go to collect, and at long last, Merileth can finish his potion for the Margrave. As we help him with this, the Margrave appears, but she's been transformed into a monstrous slime creature. She's just able to recognize Merileth enough to tell him she's lost. But he must endure, before she sinks back into the toxic ooze.
Who beckons me? Who dares add their voice to my torment? Wait, this potion. Merileth?
My Margrave, what has befallen you? No, I can undo this. I must...
Dear Nell, forgive yourself. I am lost, but you must endure. No more. No more. No more. No more.
The Margrave does leave behind a Rune of Insight, which we activate with our blade, and the voice of the Primus once again appears, saying, "The insight to discern your enemy's plans." Plague Deviser Merileth is so proud of us and the work we've accomplished. He promises to help us with anything we want, and he joins the House of the Chosen. We return to the seat of the Primus to activate the 4th rune. And with only 1 rune remaining, Draka thinks it's time to inform Margrave Crexus about our progress on the door. But when we arrive at the House of the Chosen, we find it in a terrible state. Corpses lie everywhere, and the wounded Baron Vyraz tells us that the carnage is a result from an attack orchestrated by the House of Constructs. We rush ahead, but find Margrave Crexus had already fallen, and lies dead. With Crexus dead, the House of the Chosen needs leadership. The Baron before Draka was lost to the Maw, and Vyraz points out that it was our arrival that seemingly started all this chaos, so perhaps we have the honor to go out and search for the missing Baron. We speak with Bolvar and Oribos, and we gain access to the Maw once again. Bolvar hands us an amulet of the Horseman, so we can locate Darien Mograine, who may be able to help us. Once we land in the Maw, we first have to charge the amulet with dark magic by defeating Mawsworn in Zoval's Cauldron. And once we are done, the amulet directs us to Darien Mograine, who is trapped and shackled in a cage. He whispers something about a brand holding the key before he falls unconscious. We find Brethlon the brand and claim his key from him and return to release Darien Mograine, but as we do, we immediately get ambushed by a Mawsworn Myrmidon. But just in time, broker Venari appears and disables him by freezing him in his tracks. She introduces herself and invites us to follow her.
For you are that mortal who swept through and thwarted the jailer's festivities. I am Venari, a humble broker trapped in this land of torment. I have a proposition for you.
Venari believes she knows where the person is that we are looking for. She will trade this information in exchange for our Amulet of the Horseman. We agree, and she summons an orb that teleports us to another area within the Maw, just outside Perdition Hold. Venari explains that she's heard a Baron from Maldraxxus is being held within the hold. She conceals us from the jailer's forces and we venture in. Venari tells us that all our allies were taken into Torghast, Tower of the Damned, where the jailer keeps his most prized possessions. Once we are within Perdition Hold, we come across the Maldraxxi Baron, who turns out to be none other than Alexandros Mograine, the Ashbringer, and Darien Mograine's father. Naturally, Darien Mograine is determined to free his father, but our presence has been noticed, and we fight off the attacking Mawsworn, including Deslan the Torturer. Once Alexandros Mograine is set free, Venari provides us with a portal and tells us we should be able to take Darien and Alexandros with us through the Waystone, as long as we attune with their souls first. And it works. We return to Oribos with Darien and Alexandros Mograine to find Draka with Bolvar. It is then that Baron Mograine drops some disturbing news on us. Baron Vyraz was a traitor all along. He had Alexandros trapped within the Maw. So learning this, we rush back to Maldraxxus to confront Vyraz, and as he comes out, the voice of the Primus rings once again. The relentless pursuit of victory. And the final rune appears. We fight Vyraz, but sadly it is cut short as Draka comes to pick us up and defend the seat of the Primus, which is also under attack. As we arrive at the seat of the Primus, we raise our blade and empower the 5th rune that we got. The doorway opens, magic coming off of it that cuts a line through the attackers, causing Vyraz and his troops to flee.
Raise your sword, champion! For Maldraxxus!
The foes of the worthy shall be vanquished.
Hold back! The seat of the Primus is ours!
We venture into the Primus's inner sanctum, where we find a stone altar before a statue of the Primus. Our rune blade glows as we approach the altar, and we insert the blade into the stone. And as we do, the voice of the Primus appears and tells us what happened to him.
I am the Primus. Your presence within my sanctum means a darkness has fallen upon Maldraxxus and all the realms of death. Ages ago, the Eternal Ones punished our brother Zoval for his treachery. He was bound within the inescapable Maw to be forevermore its jailer. Now I fear that Zoval did not act alone. I suspect he had ancient allies, and will seek to win others to his cause. That you are hearing this message means my suspicions prove true. Zoval has forged his chains into a weapon and brought about my defeat. There is but one hope to save the Shadowlands. The Eternal Ones must stand together once more before the jailer escapes the Maw. Bring my warning to the Archon, the Winter Queen, and the Sire. They must see to our defenses. Do not let Zoval reach the Sepulchre. The Arbiter is the final key. Protect her, or all is lost.
We need to warn the Winter Queen and Sardonathrius about this news, so we make our way back to Oribos, leaving Maldraxxus behind. We report to Overseer Cad Delin, who was thankful we were able to prevent a war between Bastion and Maldraxxus. And as for the message from the Primus, we need to consult with Bolvar, but as we approach, he's in conversation with his daughter Talia, who finally learned the truth about her father. She asks her father to peer into the maw to find any of the allies we have locked up in there. So Bolvar turns to us, and we assist him, focusing on the Broken Helm of Domination.
Whoever you are, whatever you want, I will fight you. You will not break me.
They have reached the seat of the Primus and discovered his warning.
Unfortunate, but of little consequence. Our eyes are everywhere. This nuisance will be dealt with.
The vision is shocking, and although Kalia Menethil wants to learn more, Bolvar isn't able to summon another vision just yet. Even this short glimpse was dangerous enough. Bolvar suggests we focus on delivering the message we have from the Primus, and we get told that the Winter Queen oversees the cycle of life and death. When they die, spirits of nature slumber in her forest until they are reborn, and as before, a gateway opens up, and we are off to Ardenweald. And we'll pick this up in the next video of the series. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Sorry it took a little longer than expected. Please take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.